So today it's gonna be a shorter video, I guess. I always say that, about my Christmas and my New Year's cast-on, and also one cast-on I've made in between for my youngest son. So hello everyone, welcome back to my very small place on the internet where I talk about my knitting life and my knitting adventures. My name is Isabelle. I am in Normandy, in a very sunny Normandy today. Very cold. We had snow yesterday, but it all went out in my area at least. It was a big turmoil and many, unfortunately, serious accidents in France in areas where, aside from the mountains, we are not used to having snow and people don't have equipment, and maybe people did have to go to work and had to get into their car and had to travel by train. My youngest son got stuck in Paris coming back from Brittany to Lyon, where he lives, and he had to spend the night in Paris because the train was cancelled over there. They stayed for about an hour or 2 hours in the train, not knowing what was going to happen. So it's a big thing today in France. So currently we have a lot of sun in Normandy. Some parts of Normandy had a lot of snow. I live close by the sea. That's not a guarantee, but we had a little snow. We had ice. It was very cold this morning, and the roads were completely iced. But anyway, it's gone for now in my area, and my heart goes to all of the people who were or are suffering from the current weather situation in France. Anyway, a very long introduction to say that I'm going to be, as I said just before, I'm going to be mainly talking about my Christmas and New Year's cast-on, plus one cast-on I made in between. I may or may not, I don't know, depending on the time, talk about one finished object I have finished. I guess, I'm not even sure I showed this version to you on my needles. And if I also have enough time, I'm going to talk about two other pieces I had decided to unravel and do something else with them. And I decided to keep them as is because I talked with my family and my friends and had input, and I decided just to stay that way. So if all of that is of any interest to you, please stay tuned. So, as we are a knitting channel, right? What am I wearing? I am wearing my extremely beautiful Sovabeline sweater that I knit. It was a present from one of the lovely yous. You sent me the yarn and you sent me the pattern. You offered the pattern to me. So it's knit with Swiss rare wool, and it's the wool that was recommended into the pattern by Jessica Gore. And I have a little bit left over. I'm not sure what I want to make, either cuffs for my wrists or a little scarf, I don't know. But for the moment, I'm wearing it with my trendy little scarf. That a free pattern I released on Ravelry, and I should modify the pattern so that I can give you the recipe for the little add-on here at one end. It's a little scarf that is a 1x1 scarf, one of these, numerous little scarves that you can have, and that were very popular, and some of them are continuing to be very popular over the years. And it's a 1x1 rib, and I prefer 1x1 ribs because to garter, I don't like the way garter elongates and shows ridges that are narrower than the valleys. After a while, one is stretched out. So I prefer some kind of other type of stitch. And one by one rib is one way. I may also do something else, other ridges, and you start with a few stitches and you increase on one side to get to the main width of the little scarf. You decrease either on the same side or on the other side, doesn't really matter. You make it the length you want, and I knit that one with Holzgarn ties held double. I've made another one with ties held single. It's woolen silk and by Holzgarn. And this one is quite warm, I have to say, because it's double layer, it's wool. I think it's 70% wool and 30% silk. And you have here the little detail that I usually place on the side and tuck the ends in, because I don't like when the ends show too much. That's just my preference. You can do whatever you want. And I've had this necklace for quite a while, but before you ask, this is a very beautiful bead in glass. I'm gonna cut here so that I can remove my necklace so that I can show it to you. And I'm taking the time to talk about it because it's a present my beloved sister-in-law and brother-in-law gave to me this Christmas. And it's a very, very, very beautiful handmade bead, glass bead with some kind of swirls. The person say they can't, anticipate what the swirl is going to be. The back is blue, and the swirl is with some kind of reflective lighter blue and kind of silver colors. I'm sorry, you see a lot of reflection from the lights, and it's very, very beautiful. I've had that necklace for quite a while now, several years, over 10 years, and you may never have seen me wear it. I'm not sure why. I may have worn it already, because this is the kind of necklace you can put some kind of little dangling things on at the end of the necklace. And I've had several type of things I can hang in there. And the hole in the glass bead is quite small, and the necklace it came onto was just a very basic, I would think not very strong one. So I decided to place it onto another one. So I'm very pleased with that. It's going to be some necklace I think I will cherish for a long time, because it's all of what I like. And also, before you ask, this is some kind of another ring that I got for myself. It's not glass, it's some kind of composite material. Not sure what to say, but that's one of the lady in Honfleur makes, and we went there with my brother and sister-in-law. If I think about it, I will show you pictures. But I did like a lot the reflections between the green and the blue. It's all of my colors, and there you have it, my complete outfit, almost complete, because I wear that with my pathway shawl that I knit with Romney, I'm not sure I recall if it was Romney or Hampshire Down. No, it was with her, Hampshire Down. Pathway by Mayu Kallio now in her book. And what do I see? Oh, there is a stain here. I had not seen it, so I need to clean that. And I really love the Pathway shawl because the yarn is so sticky. I'm going to put it in the other direction, because the garter and of course all of the cables are completely reversible. And I really love that shawl because it's a bit thicker, very, very, very warm. It's perfect for the kind of days we are having right now. And once you place it into a shape, it doesn't move. The different parts of the shawl stick to each other. The yarn is very, very, very rustic and very sticky. I love the smell, and my God, I had not seen that stain, so I need to take care of that. So this is what I was wearing today when I was at work. Okay, so first, my Christmas cast-on. I had several projects in mind, and I finally decided, and I may already have said that to you, I don't recall, that I was going to cast on the Jaunty by Andrea Maury. That's the first really famous designer other than Stephen West, I know, and maybe Natasha Hornby, but some of the very trendy designers that I dive into with the Jaunty. When I saw the pattern, I instantly loved it. And I said, okay, I want to use that pattern to cast it on at some point. I was not sure with which yarn from my stash or what. When I went to the little pop-up by Jeu de Teinture, Laurie, I got her suri, that is a lace suri, but it's a very plump lace. And her merino single in a colorway that is called Il pleut, it's raining again, and in this quite blue, purplish, tonal color, and you see the suri is taking the dye very differently. And I think her suri is 400 meters per 50 grams, and her merino single is 400 meters per 100 grams. So I had 2 balls of each. So you see I'm on my second balls. And for now, the project is in a little bag that my eldest son's girlfriend got for me, with this very nice little pattern with hearts, blue flowers, and it's blue with little golden type of elements. And this type of bag, you can crunch it up all to the bottom, and you see there is some kind of a zipper around. Once it's all crunched up, you close it that way, you close the zipper, and you have a little pouch that you can take with you to wherever you want, whatever, and it can be very flat into your bag, so that's kind of a bag you can use. But for now, travel with, but for now, what I'm doing is I'm keeping the Jaunty, I'm going to show it to you, into the bag. I tighten the knot at the top, or I tighten the cable at the top, or the piece of fabric that they use to close the top, so that I have my 2 yarns that are in the bag and coming out of the hole, and they don't mess around, they don't jog around, and it's easier for me to knit on. I have to say, I absolutely love that pattern. That's not going to be the last one. That's my first one, and that's not going to be my last one. It's half fisherman ribs. So that means what I've done, I've passed the midpoint for me, is a lot of knitting. And I have to say, so that's the right side for the fisherman, the way Andrea Maury says, and that's the wrong side. I have to say I like the wrong side better, and as I did for my Gugio color, but Egionit recommends, Caroline, I'm not sure I recall her last name, recommends and guides you to knit the pattern the way you will have the fisherman rib inside out. And I should have thought of that, to have this being the right side, because as you do some kind of an I-cord on either side, as you knit, as you go, I like the look of the I-cord better on the real, the way Andrea Maury has said, right side, compared to the I-cord, the way it looks on the wrong side. So I should have thought of that. I did not, so be it. I think once you wear it, if you want to wear it right side out or inside out, it won't really matter in the end. So I've passed the midpoint, and I'm now decreasing on the rhythm that she recommends. She gives 4 sizes for the shawl that are associated with 4 yarn weights and of course 4 needle sizes and 4 gauges. For a shawl, I don't think that gauge is that critical, and of course you won't be able to knit a lace weight pattern with very bulky yarn because the outcome will be very different from what it looks on the pattern, and vice versa. If you have a bulky weight shawl pattern and you knit it with fingering, it's going to be very different. But the gauge doesn't really matter. The yarn quantity matters. So she instructs you to stop at about 45% of your yarn to go from the increases to the decreases and the remaining of the shawl. I have to say I've not really followed that because I had 2 balls of each, so I just waited. I was almost at the end of the merino single that ran out before the Surrey alpaca, and just I may have been maybe 4 or 5 rows before I run out, so I changed and I started to the decreases maybe 4 or 5 rows before I run out. And then I changed the Surrey alpaca whenever I ran out also. And I'm gonna land between the second and the third dimensions that she's mentioning. What I have been trying to follow is to keep the proportions between the width at the tip of the shawl, which is gonna be here. So this width compared to the length and the wingspan. This is what I have been trying to monitor to stay in about the same kind of proportions that she's showing, and I think I'm going to love it. The association of the merino single and her Surrey alpaca, which is very plump, it's a very thick one. Even if it's lace weight, the alpaca Surrey is very thick, and if I show it, yeah, it's very thick, and the combo I'm knitting on 3mm needles because I discovered I was becoming a very loose knitter, I guess, compared to what I was used to knitting. My knitting before, I was almost always on par with what designers or ball bands from yarn recommended, and I'm becoming a loose knitter because I guess after I hurt my wrists, I'm less of a tight. My knitting is much looser right now, so I'm using a 3mm needle. So the fabric is quite dense, but I know that fisherman rib is gonna expand once you block it, even if I have the Surrey alpaca with it and everything. It's merino single, it's superwash, so it's gonna relax anyway by itself, provided the Surrey alpaca is gonna hold it a bit in place. And it's fisherman rib has the tendency to expand both in width, if I pull a bit on it, and we'll see, and of course it expands a lot more in length. So we'll see how it goes once I get to block it. I will most probably let it do what it wants to be doing. I don't think I will pull on it. I will see which dimension the shawl is after I've finished to knit it, and once it's wet, and I'll see what I do, if I kind of pull on it a bit for the blocking part, or if I just let it dry out flat. I absolutely love this color. I really love it. She dyed the Surrey alpaca for me before she goes on to maternal leave, because She was running out, she did not have any, and I really wanted, and she's a very nice person. And I'm using the little Progress Keeper that one of you sent me from Australia. So these are the ones that I'm currently using. I have 3 of them. There is a black, a white, and this one which is brown. And same, it's some kind of a composite material. So this little alpaca is very light. It's not pulling on the stitches once you use it. And sometimes, you know, Progress Keepers have to be very light because otherwise it pulls on the knitting, and after a while you kind of see it. So I absolutely love it. That's a lot of knitting. That's a lot of knitting. And I did knit a lot of it when, not at all during the New Year's week, because my brother and sister-in-law were there and we were doing many things. But the week prior to that, my mother was at home. I drove to pick her up, bring her at my house. So that's a 3.5 hours drive, but I always have a stop to go to the restroom and walk for a bit and something. So it's a 4 hours drive for me. One day, next day, and same. So during the evening when I was at her house, and also when we were together during the day at my house during the Christmas week, because my sons were here, but you know, they were taking advantage of being in Normandy to go see their friends and everything. So we were a lot together, and she did not want to bring anything with her. She has a knitting project for a year now, and I asked her to bring it with her, and she said no. And she has some kind of other crosswords type of little book, and she did not want to bring it with her, and she was very demanding. So I did knit a lot during that period because I was with her, trying to be talking with her, but she doesn't hear very well, even though her hearing devices have been checked. So either she doesn't want to hear or whatever. Sometimes she just sits here. I have to make a little report. Sit there and singing for herself, her older songs and stuff. So she's very isolating herself from the surrounding world. So I was just sitting with her, next to her, and I did knit a lot. So right now I'm not knitting as much on it, and it will be finished whenever it will be finished. I absolutely love this color. This color is perfect. It's just perfect. The association of the merino single and the Surrey alpaca is so soft, so scrumptious. Really, it's going to be a very warm scarf, and I'm sure I'm going to be loving it, and I can't wait to have it finished. Okay, next, my New Year's cast-on, which was not casted on the 1st of January. My brother and sister-in-law were there, so I hope you will excuse me. I did cast it on, or I've not casted it on yet, and as a dum-dum that I am, I've already unraveled my gauge swatch because I really wanted to check my gauge, because the sweater is knitted sideways. So stitch gauge is very important as far as the length of the sweater. And my row gauge, and I usually get stitch gauge, but my row gauge can be very different, and it's gonna be influencing the width of the sweater. So I really wanted to make a swatch, and as I've always done, I never keep my swatches. I unravel them and use the yarn in the sweater, and I did that this morning, unraveling the swatch, and I had no time to cast on before I record, so you will just have pictures of the swatch. The sweater is from a Knitting Life book by Marianne Isayer. and it's the muscle. So maybe I need to hide that, or I will hide it with my hand, and I will of course place a picture. The muscle, and which is knit with Isayer yarns, of course, and here you have the swatch that she recommends you to make. So this is what I did, and I even only made half a swatch because my stitch gauge was on par and my row gauge was not that far off. So I decided it was good enough, and I completely forgot I wanted to record today, and I did unravel all of the swatch. So to knit that on that, and it's gonna be one of these difficult patterns. The pattern is not difficult in itself, it's almost less than a page of instructions. Plus, so this is a 2-page pattern. The first page you have all of the yarn that you need to use and the quantities and stuff. You have the recipe to make the swatch. You have just a little bottom that is concerning the pattern itself. And the next page you have that big part at the bottom that is without any instructions. So it's just basically one page. What is going to be difficult is that the yarn management, because you have 5 yarn, 2 of them are held together, and I'm trying to find all of my balls, and I will need to be very careful about that, because just with the swatch it was already quite difficult. And in particular, I think so, that's the alpaca one. So in particular, so it's the Soft Fine, this is the one I used. Soft Fine is by Isayer. You have it here. This colorway that I use, this is going to be the second time in my life I am using the recommended yarn for a pattern. First time was my Galant sweater by Marie-Amélie. I'm gonna link the project down below and place a picture here. Because I had swatched for that pattern, I had bought it when she was having pet for patterns. I had swatched for that pattern with yarn I had in my stash, and I really did not like the way it looked. The look of the fabric was very, very different. And sometimes I don't care, but that time I really thought it was going to make a very different sweater than what the pattern was, and I wanted something that would be the same looking. So I ordered the yarn from Julie Asselin, and I ordered it pre-pandemic from Canada. I would not do that. I would not do that right now. Not because of Canada, just because of the price, the airfare, and the shipping would be, and also because, you know, I'm kind of having a better look at my, not carbon footprint. It's a bit of too much of a word, but I'm kind of trying to use yarn I can find locally, and Isayer is carried by one of my local yarn stores. So the Isayer Soft Fine is E2S. That's the colorway, and this one I've always succeeded into managing mohair and unraveling mohair, unless I don't have to unravel a very big piece, but I did unravel 2 full sleeves of a sweater that I transformed into a vest, and I've always managed to do that. This one is another beast. It's extremely fluffy, it's extremely sticky, it rolls itself around the other yarns. I'm not sure how. I don't know how this yarn is doing. I don't know how you are doing this, but you manage to tangle yourself with all of the other yarns. So my idea is that once, and this is why I did not cast on, because I have to find most probably Ziploc bags for the freezer or something to place each yarn into a Ziploc bag. Close the Ziploc, just leave one strand of yarn out of the Ziploc bag so that it doesn't get as tangled as it did when I was doing my swatch. And if I don't want the yarn to be tangling, I will have to cut at every wedge, that because you need sideways and you need wedges and you need the wedge width with short rows. So if I don't want to have all of the tangling, I will have to cut my yarn, and I will have one, two, three, four ends to weave in at each wedge. I'm not doing this. So I will have to place the yarn in bags and knit from the bags. So that's the first one. So the soft fine is color D, and in this sandy color, and you had the choice of two colors for the soft fine, either a green or a sand, the way I chose it, and I did choose the sand. The combo A is alpaca 1 in time, if I'm not mistaken, but I may be mistaken. No, it's in time, and it's the alpaca 1. So alpaca 1 is, I forgot to say for the other one, alpaca 1 is 400 meters per 50 grams, and it's 100% alpaca, and it's that green one here. And it's much less fluffy and much less sticky and much less of a rebel than the soft fine. The soft fine is 26% silk and 63% alpaca and 11% yak, and it's 150 meters per 25 grams. And this one is a rebel. And the other one is the spinny, which is this kind of acid green. Spinini is 100% wool, 100 grams, 600 meters. And the acid green and the time alpaca colorway, you see it marked here together. It softens the acid green, it brightens the time colorway. It makes a very nice green color that are going to be in the main part of the wedges. So in between the wedges, you have vertical stripes. So one of them is the soft fine. The other one is tweed. So tweed is 70% wool, 30% mohair, is 200 meters per 50 grams, and this colorway is sand. So you see it's not completely homogeneous, it's a little tonal. And the second one, the same yarn base, and this one is bottle green. And you see, it's not completely homogeneous either. So you are alternating vertical stripes of these three ones. I'm not sure I recall if this one is in the middle or not. I guess it's in the middle. Doesn't really matter. I will put a picture of my swatch. And some wedges that are made of the combination of these two. So it's knit sideways. I've read every single project on Ravelry because the pattern's instructions are really minimal. I think just one page for all of this sweater. I guess it's not very difficult once you get the hang of the short rows and the hang of all of the wedges. It's just a matter of the width of the sweater, because you are repeating that once up to the part where the width is of the dimensions of that you want. Then you have the sleeves that you need by themselves. And one person said, and I will have to read that because instructions for one sleeve are good, and the instructions for the other sleeves are not accurate. And I will have, and she placed pictures in her project to show how she joined the sleeves to the body. And So I will have to look at that a bit more closely, because I saw the mistake that she pointed out in the pattern, and there is no errata that I have seen, so I will have to be very careful with that. And after that, you cinch in the collar with some kind of ribbing. So I think, as I'm good as far as stitch gauge, the length of the sweater will be okay. I will have to decide the width of the sweater, and she gives different recommendations. And also, she said you will approximately need that much yarn for that size. I'm kind of afraid of the approximatively. So I did buy one additional ball of every of the yarn that is used in the sweater, because I don't want to run out, and I don't want to risk to have a different dye lot. So yeah, so I have an additional ball of each of them. And if I don't use them, my store owner says she can get them back. But you know, I have cats at home, and if there is cat hair and someone who is allergic to cats buys the yarn, it may be a bit difficult. So I will see how it goes, but I think I will most probably keep everything and do something else with it. And you know, just the pattern is quite nice, so I could do some kind of a scarf based on that type of pattern. So anyway, that's my New Year's cast-on that I did swatch for, and that I don't have any cast-on yet, because I did not get to cast it on right away, and I kind of missed the opportunity, and I said, okay, if I delay the video, I will not have enough time to edit and everything. So I'd rather film the video right now with the sweater that is not completely cast on, or not at all, but just showing you the swatch. So I hope all of this is okay to you. And the yarn I got for the sweater is the yarn I bought at my local yarn store, and it's yarn I bought for myself for my birthday. So this book was a recommendation by one of you, or a temptation by one of you. You said you had that book and it was very nice, and I had a look and I said, oh, I need it. So the book was a recommendation by one of you. The yarn was my birthday present from me to me, and it's my New Year's 2026 cast-on. So all good stories linked to that sweater, I hope. And now I just have to start it and manage the yarn, and kind of see how this one is going to be totally unmanageable. Okay, next, the vest I am making for my youngest son. I think he chose that vest back in May, when he came to see me as an emergency after I broke both of my wrists. And he had a look already at that pattern I had showed to him, and he liked it, and we went back and forth over the summer and choosing the yarn, because I was not quite sure. So at some point I swatched, and I liked the fabric I got with a combination of two yarns, and I'm going to just have a look there. So the first yarn I'm using is Laine sous les pommiers. There's 3-ply, I think. It's called the classic, and it's 250 meters per 100 grams, and it's the colorway that is taupe, I think. I don't see anything in here. I think it's taupe, and it's 100% pure Avranchin wool. Avranchin is a sheep species from Normandy that is endangered because there are less than 2,000 individuals in the whole known world. And they do have a very particular project to revive and the breed. They work with the agricultural department, research and something. So here is, I have a cone of this colorway. And I'm pairing it because I would not get gauge with that, the Avranchin just by itself. I'm pairing it with some very deep stash, mohair stash from the Pyrenees. This is, and this is what I had looked. So the color, this colorway is marmotte. Marmotte in English, I guess. So it's 300 meters per 50 grams. So it's their middle, they have a finer mohair, they have a much bigger one, and it's kind of their middle mohair. So it's quite a plump mohair in this very cold brown that is much colder than the taupe from the Avranchin, the Normandy wool. So I made a swatch that of course I unraveled, and everything is falling apart in here. And this is the first part of the vest. So this is the top part of the vest. I'm knitting that on 6mm needles, I think, 5.5mm needles. And this is what I needed to get gauge. And this is the top part of the back. Then you pick up stitches to knit one shoulder and you go on the other side to the front. Then the other shoulder, you go on the other side to the front. You join the stitches, and I'm not sure I recall how to knit the front. And once you are under the armholes, you join together. And this particular pattern is just at the top of the sweater, at the top of the vest. The bottom of the vest, I think it's stockinette. I'm not quite sure. I don't recall. But anyway, I absolutely love this fabric. I love this color. He loved it too. And am I showing you the right side? I'm afraid I'm showing you the wrong side. I think the right side is that one. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. That's the right side. Of course, that's the right side. And I absolutely love this color. I love the type of colder brown. It's going to be very warm. Currently, he's very cold. He lives in a colder area. And I think he's going to love it. So he said he wanted, so you can choose a turtleneck or a shorter neck. He will choose a shorter neck so that he can put some kind of a shirt underneath. And I will have to monitor the length of underarm because he doesn't want big, deep armholes. He wants it a bit longer and he wants it straight so that the ribbing at the bottom, I think I will have to check to make it as wide as the vest itself, because it doesn't like when the ribbing cinches in the sweater. Anyway, this was a very short, I need that in a very short period of time. 5.5mm needles go very quickly. I need that with him. He was there and we were talking. And of course I left it on the side because last week I did not knit at all. Not at all. I had no time for knitting. But we did a lot of things with my family and my sister and brother-in-law. So I'm not saying anything. And so this one will have to be on the front burner at some point, because I have so many work in progress at the moment that I need to choose which one I'm going to be focusing on. So far I'm going to be focusing on finishing the jaunty, of course. I will focus on my New Year's cast-on the muscle. I will focus on the vest for my son. And I think that's going to be it, I will continue to work a couple rows per day on, or maybe just one row per day on the wildflowers. I will link here the video I made last year, and apparently some of you who are undertaking the wildflower little knit along we are having together with the wildflower patterns, of course, some of you are not using the wildflower pattern because the idea was at first the wildflower, but the idea evolved into using pattern from your library, yarn from your deep stash, and enjoy the knit along, so that you get to knit a pattern that you've had in your mind for a long time and in your library, and that you've had the yarn in your stash for a long time. And I have to say that I was very, very intimidated by the pattern. I bought the book because of the pattern, and I did not cast it on. And I made the video about my way of undertaking a more difficult pattern on a more difficult chart, and how to manage this difficult to you, because of course something that is difficult to me may be very easy to you, and vice versa. And how to manage a pattern that is a bit daunting, that you do not dare casting on because it looks difficult to you, and what is my process and how I manage to do that. And I have to say that with the mussel I will have the same process, and I will add most probably yarn management because of the way I will have to manage all of that so that the yarn doesn't get tangled. I will link that video I said in the card, and I will link it also down below, because some of you have said that it was very helpful, so maybe I can, push it a little bit more in my further videos. Okay, if I may have your attention just a little longer, I'm going to talk about two projects I had decided to unravel, to reclaim the yarn and do something else because I was not wearing them or they were not fitting me at the moment, and I wanted to transform them so that I would use them because I love the yarn and I like the patterns. The first one is the little hand or wrist warmers I made with some of the rest of my never-ending blue Gilliatt from my Dazzler. It was a present my eldest son made for me last Christmas, and I made very long wrist warmers, thinking it would be very nice to have long wrist warmers whenever I'm cold, and that is true, that works inside of the house. This doesn't work in my coat. It's too thick here to fit into my coat, so it gets all bunched up at the top of the arm, and it doesn't work. So I had decided I would unravel part of it and maybe reclaim or half of it and make just half wrist warmers with one, and do something else with the other one. So I had decided to do that. What happened is that we went to Honfleur with my brother and sister-in-law, and we also went into a national bird area, a reserve, some kind of a national park there. And I had them on because it was so cold, so cold and windy, and the wind was very, very cold. And I had them on, and what I did was what I just did here is tuck in part of it for the length, maybe half of the length. And in that way, I have a shorter arm or wrist warmer and a very warm top on my hands. I can adjust to cover my fingers with the double layer, and it was just working perfectly. I went to walk by the seaside this Sunday. It was also extremely cold and a lot of wind, and it's perfect. It covers my hands with a double layer when where I need it, and I have just a single layer around my wrist, and this I can tuck into my coat, and it's perfect. So the idea to unravel one of them or cut it in half and okay, I'm just keeping them the way they are, and I will be using them that way, having a double layer on the hand and a single layer on the wrist. First thing that is staying the way it is. Second thing, my bubble scarf. The Olympe scarf by Camille Croisy-Delahaye. This is a free pattern on Ravelry if I'm not mistaken. And I made 1,184 bubbles on this scarf. And it's the cashmere merino yarn by Atelier Pure Laine, and I forgot to say that the Hampshire down for my pathway was also by Atelier Pure Laine. And I had made all of these bubbles, and I used the cashmere yarn held double. The consequence of that is that the scarf is much bigger than what the pattern says, but I don't care because, you know, it's a scarf, whatever, and I did make it much longer than what was recommended. I used the correct increases, the one that were from the pattern, and I used the increases and the decreases the way they were instructed, and then I did, you know, the middle part, much longer and much wider. Thing is, there is so much yarn in that. I'm not sure I recall how much yarn did I. There is 370 grams, and it feels very heavy. So that's one thing. The second thing, it is not easy to manipulate and to wear when I can't tuck it under my coat. It's too big, but it's not big enough to be, you know, my Stephen West Vertis Unite. That is a huge blanket one. I made a blanket size Vertis Unite. I use it at home every night when I'm cold and everything. I use it at home, but this is not deep enough to be used at home. It's too heavy to be used at work and everything. And I said, even though I have almost 1,200 bubbles in there that I need, I was going to unravel and make it single strand, the same scarf, single strand, and reclaim the other part of the yarn to do something else. Well, my youngest son said, and he's so right, because I had it sitting there and he said, what are you doing with that? And I said, I will unravel that. He said, no, don't unravel. You will have a hooded scarf the way that is so trendy right now. So maybe I'm not in the middle. I should place that in the middle. And he was so right, and he is so right. I can just use it that way, around my head, at the top of my coat, like a hooded scarf. And I need to do it this way, this way, like a hooded scarf. And it's just perfect because at the top of here, my coat is going to be okay. And I have the little hood on top of my head. He said it's extremely trendy. He said all of the bubbles are really nice looking and you should not unravel and wear it that way. Right? So I won't unravel. And I will wear it that way, like a hooded scarf. And it's deep enough in the back that I can have a good, you see, if I place it at the bottom of my head, I have all of that here. So it's deep enough to be used as a hood, and it was not masculine enough to him to take it with him, and he wants a hooded scarf. So I will make the Pearl Soho one for him. I'm not sure I recall the name. I will place the picture and the name here. It's a free pattern on Pearl Soho, and I'm not quite sure which kind of yarn I'm going to be using for him. But first I need to make the vest, and I will need also to see with my other children if they want anything else that I need for them. But he was so right. I already have a hooded scarf because I wanted to make one for myself. I have hoods, but I don't have a hooded scarf. So I was saying, oh, I want to make one for me, and which one, and which yarn, and I already have one. Perfect. Okay, so that's gonna be it for today. I forgot to take that one out. That's gonna be it for today. I'm not gonna talk about anything else. I will keep that for another video. The one finished object I have, my other works in progress, and the wildflowers. I will talk about that in another video because it's late enough, and I want to pre-film one thing that I don't want anybody to see in the process, because I think some people are watching my video people from here are watching my video, donc I don't want them to see that. But once it's gonna be finished and gifted, I will show everything, and I want to film a bit of that, so I need to do that. So that's gonna be it for today, my friends. What to say? How to place a positive thought at the end of this video after what's happening in the world. You know, in my previous video we talked and we discussed about wishing ourselves, our leaders, would be more reasonable. It's not working. We did not wish strongly enough, I guess, or deeply enough. I have no words. I thought I've already said that. I thought I had already seen the worst, and worse than worse is coming. So how to manage to stay positive in this very stressful and very uncertain world. What's going to happen next? We have no idea, and it is very stressful. So hang on to your needles and hang on to your knitting. Knit on something that is giving you pleasure. Knit on something that could be a daunting project, and maybe my previous video is going to help you undertaking that one, and you will be so very happy with it. Hang on to your needles and knit something easy and relaxing and stressless, and that you don't have to think about, and it's just going to keep your hands busy, and you are going to morph your stress into little stitches that are going to become a beautiful project. This is all I guess I can hope for us for next year, that we hang on together, that we hang on tight, that we share our pleasure to be knitting, wherever you are in the world, whatever your life is other than that, because we do share the knitting part. And when I knit, I think to all of you, and I send out, it's not just a figure of speech. I send out my little stitches over to you, and if you do the same to other people that you know, and you manage to focus yourself on your knitting when you knit, thinking of other people and knitting for them, maybe completely virtually, maybe not knitting on an actual piece that is for someone else, but knitting for them and placing joy and happiness into your stitches and sending them out. I'm afraid it won't change the fate of the world, but it may change the way we think about each other in this little community. And the sharing of the good wishes and the positive thoughts is very important to me. So I do hope that you manage to be knitting for the next year, that we will be knitting together, whatever happens. And I really hope I will see you next time. 3, 4. Un, 2, 3, 4, 5. Top. Top. Last one. It's half fish. It's half fisherman ribs. So that's the so that's the right side. And you see, I've passed here. I've passed the midpoint. Where is the midpoint? The midpoint is here. So I've passed the midpoint, and I will see which dimensions of the shawls I will see which dimension the shawl, which is the B one. It's so that's the Isayer tweed, and that's the scent one. Yes. So this one, yes. So that's the one, but I guess I'm missing a ball band. Soft fine, I don't have you. Okay, we'll see.